Jiggy cat on a damn killing spree. This is not good, so and you can't mimic my energy. 100 round drum and be hanging like a centipede. Hey everyone, it's me, Nagato's Adventure. I hope you guys are having an awesome day for today. As the title states, I'm going to be talking about the latest build of RetroArch for the PlayStation 4 and its newest update, which is also known as version 1.1 or revision 2, and some of the new things it has to offer for the PlayStation 4. So for starters, there has been some new cores that has been implemented into this build. There's also been some common fixed bugs that was fixed from version 1.0 and has been, cleared up in this newest version. As well, there has been thumbnail support as plus with playlist support. So if y'all guys know, if you test the original build, there were some issues basically loading up your ROMs and creating a playlist to it. So let's say, for example, you had like 20 Super Nintendo games and you try to make a playlist. For some reason, the original build wasn't scanning all of those games. So it made it kind of a nuisance to, try to load up your games via from, your USB drive, for example, or your internal SSD. So you would always either have to look in your recently played section, or you would have to go back onto your USB manually, or wherever you had your games located at onto your internal PlayStation 4 hard drive. So it kind of got tedious after a while. But for today, if you guys install this new latest build, you could create your own playlists and stuff like that, and you could find your games faster via that way. One thing I do want to stay out of the way, I do apologize in advance if my intro is pretty long, but only due to the fact I have a lot of information to state. That's why I do recommend to go ahead and stick around and listen, since I do have a lot of key information and important stuff, so everyone could be on the same page, and hopefully I'll answer all your questions in the intro. One thing I do want to state as of right now, I do recommend to go ahead and check out my original video about RetroArch on how to get that fully installed, only due to the fact that I go into great detail and also show some emulation tests on how well RetroArch runs on the PlayStation 4. So go ahead, check out that original video if you want just a core installation on how to install this, since today's video is just mainly about the newest update that was released as of today, as of Saturday. But with that getting all out the way, I'm going to go ahead and state some things you should know for this process, or some key things you should know before installing. So this build is based off version 1.8.1 of RetroArch, the official build, and this is an unofficial port that was made from PlayStation 4 developers, so this is not coming from LibRetro themselves. However, this is a port that, like I stated before, was made from just some PS4 scene members. But with being that out the way, as of course some other things to note, there is fixed launching games from playlists. So that's what I was just explaining, that the playlist ability has been fixed. You have the ability now to add cover art for your said titles. So if you want to add cover art to any of your cores, so whether it be PlayStation 1 titles, Super Nintendo, NES, Sega Genesis, you get the picture, you can now. There has been some added more cores. Some of the cores that has been added are deemed as experimental, and you should take that with a grain of salt, since some of the cores are not really running the ROMs at its proper frame rates, and there has been some emulation issues that I've noted from the build before even testing it. So for example, the Desmume and Nintendo DS emulator has some audio issues. I know Mupen 64 is not running Nintendo 64 games at its best frame rate, and there's of course graphical and audio issues. The Yabause Sega Saturn emulator within this RetroArch build, or its core itself, there has been some graphical issues I noted, and also some audio issues. I tried to test Sonic R, and I noticed right off the back there has been some speed issues and all of that type of stuff. So go ahead and take that with a grain of salt for those cores. But for the other cores that has been added, it seems like everything was playing just fine. As well, there has been a small speed improvement with Mupen 64, but mind you, Nintendo 64 games are not running at its full rate as it should be. So hopefully in future revisions of RetroArch for the PS4, Nintendo 64 games could run just fine. So that's some things I do want to note. Here is a list of supported cores slash emulators that has been added to revision 1.1 of this build. So I'm not going to really read all of them because I don't want this intro to be any much longer, but as showcased here, there is stuff for the FB Alpha Neo Geo system. So if you want to play classic Neo Geo games, you can. If you're into like MAME arcade games and stuff like that, you also can as well. Capcom Play System 1, 2, and 3 has been now supported with the added core. So if you like playing Capcom Play System titles like Street Fighter and all of that fun stuff and some arcade classics, you can. Just to cherry pick from this list right here, here are some of the other cores like Super Graphics and PC Engine. So if you like playing Japanese PC Engine classic games, you can. Nintendo 64 ROM emulators are here, or excuse me, cores are here, and as well as Sega Saturn, like I stated with the Nintendo 64, Nintendo DS, and Sega Saturn cores. They are experimental, so just letting you know that out of the back. But with that getting out the way for some key things to know, and as well as the list of supported cores and emulators, I do want to go ahead and get started the prerequisites for the PlayStation 4. Any of the things I do state will be in the link in the description down below, and any useful links and articles and anything like that will be in the link in the description down below as well. So first things first, you need a modded PlayStation 4 that is on firmware 5.05. So you cannot do this on firmwares higher than 5.05. So if you want 7.02 and you can access, PSN, for example, you cannot do this. If you want 5.55 or 6.20 or anything of that nature, if you're not on 5.05, there's absolutely no way to do this, since there hasn't been a WebKit exploit for said higher firmwares. But with that being out of the way, you need either any WebKit exploit host of your choice. For today, I'm going to be using PS-Phwoar Exploit Host Menu. If you guys don't know how to set up that exploit host menu on your PlayStation 4 that's modded, I will have a card right now showcased on the screen, and then you could go ahead and click that video if you want to. But you could use any WebKit exploit. It could be Al-Azarus or whatever. You also need RetroArch PS4.pkg. You need to release version 2 or 1 basically for this process. So I'll have the link in the description down below for the latest build or the newest update for it. You also need a USB stick, either formatted to FAT32 or exFAT, and I recommend that your USB has at least 32 gigabytes or more, since if you're going to be adding a lot of ROMs via on your USB or onto your internal hard drive, I should say, I do recommend having a USB, since the PS4 packages are large in size. But with that being out the way for those prerequisites, some other prerequisites you need is ROMs for your respective cores. So if you're trying to add ROMs for your Super Nintendo or NES, go ahead and gather your games up now. You may need BIOS files for certain consoles, so PlayStation 1 is an example. I know PC Engine may need some BIOS for the PlayStation 4 as well, but I will have a list in the link in the description down below for which games needs BIOS and stuff like that as well. In terms of where to transfer your BIOS files, you need FileZilla FTP client to transfer stuff via that way, but your BIOS files will go into data RetroArch system, and this is where you will dump your BIOS files from. Some other prerequisites I do want to state in terms of box art, which I'm going to be focusing on today mainly, is how to basically get your game art and thumbnails for said classic titles, and I showcased right now on the screen where you could place them at. So if you go on your PlayStation 4, you FTP, and I'll show you guys more in depth on how to do this, but if you know what you're doing, this is where you should locate your thumbnails at. So if you go into the data RetroArch folder thumbnail, this is where all of your game and cover art is going to. With all of the prerequisites and intros out the way, what I do want to state is give a special thanks out to these guys right here on the screen, as well as RetroArch devs. But with all of that getting out the way, we're going to go ahead and get started on today's video. Alrighty guys, assuming that you did follow all the prerequisites as stated in the intro, basically we're good to go to start on the PC side of things. I do apologize once again for my intro being super long, but once I edit all of this video, there'll probably be a timestamp so you guys can skip straight to this part of the video. But with that being all out the way, I do want to give a shout out to PSX Place for keeping us updated with the RetroArch scene for the PlayStation 4. But If I go into the update release 2 tab, you can see all of the stuff that I did state earlier on the video. So some of the patch notes are via right here, talking about the playlist stuff, some of the added cores, as well as a list of the added cores here. I won't be covering anything via on the newest release page right now, since I already stated it in the intro. But as of always, if you guys want to read more on this, I will have that in the link in the description down below. But all you got to do, once you go to this website, in the link in the description down below, just go into release version 2, and this will be the actual package you need to be installing onto your USB device for today's process. So all you gotta do is hit save. It will be in your downloads folder or wherever you have it saved at, and then you can just drag it and drop it to your desktop. As showcased here, here's the actual PKG. It's already on my desktop, but assuming that you already have RetroArch installed onto your PC, what we're gonna do is focus on the actual cover art for our games that I'm gonna be showing you guys on how to install. So you can use the official website via here from LibRetro, and this website contains basically all of the box arts for a ton of classic systems and stuff like that. So if you're trying to add cover art for your Game Boy Advance games, you can. All you got to do is just hit on the actual .zip folder, and then it will actually pop up. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to cancel, since I already downloaded my Super Nintendo ones, and that's the ones I'm going to be showing you guys on how to set up today. But it's the same premise on how to set up thumbnails. But assuming you downloaded all your thumbnails for your said cores or your games, wherever you want to put them at, all you got to do is just unzip this file right here. It'll be in a .zip file. You can use something like WinRAR or 7-zip, extract the files here, and it will create a folder. And this is how the folder will look like once you unzip it. It will contain all of the game's box art. So here are basically all of the Super Nintendo NES or SNES games, that we're going to be setting up to get its box art. So that's what I'm doing here. But assuming you got your cover arts from LibRetro, you also have RetroArch.pkg. What we're going to do first is to install RetroArch.pkg. We're not going to be putting our cover art onto our USB, since we're going to be transferring via that over FileZilla FTP client. So all we got to do now is plug in our USB disk, or our USB stick, not our disk. And what we need to do is verify that if it's on FAT32 or exFAT. If you're on FAT32 and exFAT, by checking, right clicking, going to properties and going to file system here, you're good to go. But let's say your thing's on NTFS, you basically need to reformat your hard drive. And anytime you basically reformat your file system, it erases all your data and contents off your USB. So make sure to back up your stuff on another flash drive onto your desktop for the time being, because anytime you reformat your USB drive, it erases all your data. So as showcased here, if you're on NTFS, all you got to do is right click, go into format. If you're on file system, states it's on NTFS, just go to FAT32 or exFAT. I'm just going to be on FAT32. Your allocation unit size, just go to default allocation size. Your volume label is just a label you could name your USB. I'm keeping mine blank. Make sure you have quick toggle, or toggle on quick format, so make sure it's check marked. And then you're basically good to go. Hit start, then hit OK. You will get a little notification on Windows stating that the format is complete, and then you will see all your data is erased. So hit OK once it's there. Go into File Explorer once again, go into local disk drive. As you see, none of my data is here. What we're going to do is take our RetroArch PS4 PKG revision 2, transfer it over to our root of our USB, and if I go into my root of my USB just to verify that I'm on FAT32, you can see that I am now. But once it's fully done transferring over, what I'm going to do is go to the PlayStation 4 and then I'll show you guys on how to install it. So I think it has 25 seconds, so it won't take too long. But for today, I'm not really going to show you guys on how to set up ROMs and stuff like that, only due to the fact of just this video being too long. That's why I do recommend just checking out video 1. But once it's fully done copying over, we're going to safely eject our USB so we won't have any corrupted files while transferring over. So if we go to our local disk, you can see that RetroArch is fully done now. We're going to close out of File Explorer, go into our hidden icons right here. We're going to safely eject our USB drive. I already know mine is labeled F since that's the one we just formatted. Yours may say a different letter. Once it's fully done, all we got to do is take our USB out, plug it into our PS4's USB port, and then enable hen. So let's go ahead and do it. Alrighty, so as of right now, your PlayStation 4 should have your USB key that has the RetroArch installed onto it. So what we need to do now is just open up any WebKit exploit of our choice. I'm going to be using PS-Phwoar for today's example, so let me open up my user guide. You can use Al-Azhar's DNS if you're doing via that way, or just any WebKit exploit, it doesn't matter. But today I'm just going to be running hen version 2.1.1, so that's it right here. Once you have the little notification on the side of your screen, all you got to do is just back out, go back into your settings, scroll all the way down to debug settings, go into game, package installer, and then install RetroArch version or revision 2. If you're using a older build of RetroArch, it's fine. It's just basically going to update its new assets from its build, so just think about this as a actual update from PSN, but it's just a unofficial one from the developers who, you know, made the unofficial port for the PS4. So once this has been fully implemented and done, I'm going to show you guys on how to set up your playlist and how to get cover art for your playlist, which is pretty simple on how to do, as long as you have your games all formatted into one area or folder, whether it be from your USB stick or whether it be from the internal PS4's hard drive. That's why I stated in the you know, earlier in the intro and, you know, earlier in the video to check out my very first video on how to basically get your folder set up for your games. But once RetroArch is fully done, go ahead and launch it just like any normal homebrew. And then I'll just showcase right now. I'm not going to really run any games, but if I go into load core, you can see that all of the cores have been updated. So I believe there's 36 of them. As I stated before, the Yabause or Sega Saturn core and, you know, the Nintendo 64 core and DS cores have issues, so just want to go ahead and state that now. But what we're going to do is go ahead and just hit back on our home button for RetroArch, go into settings, make sure your network is on as well for your PlayStation 4, since we're going to be running a FTP connection to get our cover art set up. So go into any WebKit exploit of your choice. I'm using PS-Phwoar's. If you guys don't know how to set up PS-Phwoar, I will have a, you know, that in the link in the description down below. But we're going to use FTP server. I just launch any FTP server, whether you're using a payload. Once you have your FTP server up on your PlayStation 4, you will see your little notification of your PS4's IP. Just write it down real quick or take a picture of it. But what we're going to do is go to our PC and then FTP our cover art over. Alrighty, so as of right now, your PlayStation 4 should be on, you know, its FTP server. It already sent the payload to showcase your IP address. All you need to do as of right now is open up FileZilla FTP client. If you guys don't already have this, I will have the actual executable and the download link in the link in the description down below. You can use any FTP client of your choice, like WinSCP, I think that's what's the name of it. But for today, I'm just using FileZilla FTP client. All you got to do is type in your PlayStation 4's IP address, which mine is this, and our ports will be the same. So all you got to do is hit quick connect. If you get this little insecure FTP connection error, just hit always allow and OK, and then you should see all your directories on your PlayStation 4. Where we need to basically put our thumbnails at, we need to go to our data folder, go to RetroArch and thumbnails, and this is how it's formatted. So you can see that I already have my Super Nintendo thumbnails into this one place right here. So just for example purposes, all you got to do is just transfer your thumbnails into that. I'm just going to go into hit let me see, I'm just going to hit skip since I already have them downloaded, and I'm just going to hit OK. So that's how we'll basically transfer all of your files once it's fully done, since it's skipping, since I already have all of them here. But what you could also do as well, if I go back into RetroArch, go into another folder if it'll allow me to right now. So yeah, if I go back out of RetroArch and scroll for a quick second, let me double click on this. It's kind of getting laggy because I guess it's unqueuing files. But yeah, you can see that I have a RetroArch _ROMs folder. You can just create one by right clicking and then hitting a new folder and creating a new one via within RetroArch. So you just got to hit and create directory and enter it. You can name it RetroArch ROMs, but if I go into RetroArch ROMs, you can see that I have all of my games into this directory. So for example, here's all of my Super Nintendo games into one directory right here. So if I go make my Super Nintendo playlist, which I'll show you guys in a second on basically how to do that. So what I'm going to do now is cut the video here. I did show you guys on where to transfer your thumbnails to, but what I'm going to do is go back to the PS4 and show you guys on how to make the playlist and get your thumbnails to pop up. So let me... Alright, so we're on the PlayStation 4. Assuming that you did, understand on how to basically transfer your cover art or your thumbnails, all you got to do is go and hit the PlayStation Home button, go into RetroArch again. Now, what you need to do is scroll all the way to the right. So if you were starting here, just scroll all the way to the right. As you see, I already have some of my thumbnails already set up for the, PlayStation as well as the original NES. But what you need to do first is go and scroll all the way down to playlist. Make sure you have this set to 100, your list set to 100. Make sure you have all playlists as well to the setting right here. I'm trying to see and find where to actually get the user interface as well. You want to go ahead and go into appearances. You want to also have screenshots on, so you can have your left thumbnails to screenshots, your thumbnails to box art. So make sure you have these two functions on as well, or your box art won't showcase in here. And you can find that into the appearance menu and within user interface. And all you need to do is scroll all the way to the right, go into scan directory, go and find where your games are located at. So mine is in data. Scroll to RetroArch ROM. So if you were watching the first video, all you got to do is just find wherever your games are located at. So I'm gonna find my Super Nintendo games and then scan this directory. It's not going to take too long since it's only 3 games I've placed in here. So let me scan one more time. So yeah, as you show right here, you can see that Street Fighter is in here. If I go back out and scroll down here, you can see that my 3 cover arts that from Super Nintendo is here. So if we're doing a bunch of Super Nintendo games, you'll see all your cover art. So for example, I have like over I know 1,000 NES games. You can see that all my cover art has been placed here. But since we did Super Nintendo, now I have a playlist for my Super Nintendo games just to showcase that it runs just fine from this section. If I go into load core, go into, I don't know, Super Nintendo 2010, hit circle on that and try to launch a game of choice. Let me go into, I don't know, Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2, circle once again. It created a core and now it's going to run. My game now can run just fine on my PlayStation 4. So yeah, essentially that's how you set up cover art and thumbnails for your PS4. And hopefully I did teach you guys about some of the updates that this RetroArch build has to offer. If you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to leave a like, please be sure to comment. But with that being said, my name is Nagato and I'm signing out. Peace. Hey everyone, it's me Nagato's Revenge here. Hope you guys did enjoy today's video. With that being out the way as well, I highly do recommend that y'all guys go ahead and follow my social media so you never miss any of the latest hacking guides and tutorials on my channel by subscribing to me and hitting that notification button as well. It's another method on how you will know when I drop my latest content, whether it be for the Vita, PS4, PS3, and such and so forth. As well, if you want to be in the mix of things and you want to join my official community, you can join via the link right now showcased on the screen and join my Discord that way. And if you do want to support my channel in any shape or form, you could become a patron. I will have a card right now. But with all of that getting out the way, hope you guys really did enjoy this video and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.